Welcome to SpaceThrillHFY, where humans step into galaxies unknown and bonds are forged that defy the stars. Tonight's tale begins in the heart of war, where a human soldier saves a wounded alien girl, only to discover that her touch carries a power that will change him forever. Suspense, danger, and passion collide in ways no one can predict. Stay with us until the end, because every twist will leave you breathless. And if you love epic HFY stories filled with mystery and emotion, make sure to like, subscribe, and join SpaceThrillHFY for more adventures beyond the stars. The sky of Halora burned red as warships cut across the horizon. Explosions shook the ground and smoke rose like black rivers twisting into the clouds. Villages lay in ruin and the cries of children mixed with the thunder of alien weapons. No one had expected the war to arrive so suddenly, not even the soldiers guarding the borders. Ethan Cole, a human soldier far from his home, crouched behind a collapsed wall. Dust clung to his uniform and his chest rose and fell with the weight of fear. He had been deployed as part of a peace mission, but the mission had turned into chaos in a single night. The alien forces, the Zorak, were ruthless. They destroyed everything in their path, leaving no chance for surrender. The battlefield smelled of burning metal and blood. Ethan pressed his palm against a cut on his arm, wincing. He was alone now. His unit had been scattered, each man fighting for survival. He tried to calm his racing thoughts, but his ears caught something strange. A soft cry. It wasn't the cry of a human. It was lighter, trembling, filled with pain. He followed the sound, moving through the ruins like a shadow. His boots crunched over glass and stone. He lifted a broken beam with all his strength and froze. There, lying in the dirt, was a girl. Her skin faintly glowing under the dim light, her hair silver like moonlight. She had long ears, fox-like, and her tail twitched weakly against the ground. An alien girl. She had a deep wound on her side, blood running down her torn dress. Her golden eyes widened when she saw Ethan. For a moment, both stayed still, staring at each other through the dust and fire. She was the enemy, and he was supposed to turn away, but her weak voice whispered, "Help me." Ethan's heart pounded. Logic screamed at him to leave, but something inside refused. He knelt beside her, tearing fabric from his sleeve. "Hold still," he muttered. His hands shook as he pressed the cloth against her wound. She gasped, her claws digging into the ground, but she didn't push him away. Instead, her gaze softened. "Why?" she asked faintly. "Why help me, human?" Ethan tightened the bandage and looked at her. "Because no one deserves to die like this. Not even you." Her breath trembled. For a second, she almost smiled. Then, without warning, she leaned forward. Her tongue brushed against his hand, warm and rough. Ethan pulled back, startled. "What the hell are you doing?" he whispered. She didn't answer. Her eyes glowed brighter and she licked the blood from his knuckles again. A strange shiver ran through him. Was it a custom of her people? A way of sealing trust? Or something far more dangerous? The ground shook again as another explosion thundered nearby. Ethan grabbed her arm. "We have to move." He lifted her carefully, feeling how light she was in his arms. She winced but didn't resist. Her tail curled around his wrist like it was claiming him. Through the smoke, Ethan spotted shadows, Zorak soldiers sweeping the ruins. Their armor gleamed like black stone, their weapons humming with deadly energy. If they found him carrying an alien girl, they would kill them both. Ethan ducked into the ruins of a burned-out shop, breathing hard. The girl clung to him, her breath hot against his neck. She whispered something in her own language, soft and musical. Then she did it again, her tongue brushing his skin as though she wanted to mark him. Ethan shook his head. "Stop, just stop," he whispered, though his voice carried no anger. She looked at him with eyes that seemed to say she couldn't. The soldiers passed close by, their footsteps echoing. Ethan held his breath, pressing the girl against his chest to silence her. He could feel her heartbeat racing against his. It was fast, wild, but not from fear. When the soldiers finally moved on, Ethan let out a slow exhale. The girl lifted her face, her lips close to his ear. "You saved me," she whispered. "Now, I am yours." Her words chilled him. He hadn't asked for this. He had only wanted to save a life. But the way she looked at him, the way her tongue brushed his wound again, told him this was only the beginning. The war outside raged on, but Ethan realized something far more dangerous had just started. Not with the enemy's weapons, but with the alien girl who now refused to let him go. Ethan staggered through the ruins, holding the alien girl tight against his chest. Every step was heavy, the ground trembling under the endless thunder of war. The night sky burned with streaks of plasma fire, ships colliding above like gods tearing the heavens apart. He ducked behind a collapsed tower, chest heaving. The girl's blood stained his uniform, warm against his skin. She was losing strength fast, yet her golden eyes never left him. Even wounded, she stared like she was memorizing his every breath. "You should have left me," she whispered, her voice weak but sharp. "Too late now," Ethan muttered. He pressed his back against the stone, listening. Zorak patrols were close. He could hear their metallic growls, their boots crushing glass. If they spotted him, they wouldn't hesitate. Human or alien, anyone not in their ranks was prey. The girl stirred in his arms, her tail brushing his neck. "They will hunt you. For saving me, for touching me." Ethan clenched his jaw. "Let them try." Suddenly a flash lit the ruins, followed by a booming roar. The patrol was firing at something, scanning, searching. Their voices hissed in a strange tongue, like blades scraping steel. Ethan pressed lower, heart pounding. He had to move. But as he shifted, the girl grabbed his wrist. Her claws dug into his skin, her eyes fierce despite her pain. "Listen," she whispered, her lips trembling. "You don't know what I am. Saving me is not kindness. It is binding. What do you mean?" Ethan asked, narrowing his eyes. Her breath hitched. She leaned closer, her lips brushing his ear. "Your blood touched mine. That is enough. I cannot leave you. I will never leave you." Ethan's stomach tightened. "You think licking my hand makes you mine?" he hissed, trying to keep his voice low. "I don't even know your name." Her golden eyes glimmered, almost defiant. "Lyra," she whispered. "Now you do." Before Ethan could respond, a blast of plasma struck the wall above them, showering sparks. The Zorak had found them. Ethan grabbed Lyra tighter and dashed through the smoke, heart pounding as beams of light seared past him. The air reeked of ozone and fire. A soldier spotted them, its hulking armor gleaming, its face hidden behind a jagged mask. It roared and raised its weapon. Ethan dove behind cover, rolling to shield Lyra with his body. The blast struck stone inches from his head, scorching the air. Ethan cursed. He was no hero, just a soldier caught in the wrong place. But the way Lyra clung to him, eyes locked with a strange hunger, made him feel like fate had dragged him into something much larger than survival. Another shot rang out. Ethan grabbed a shard of metal from the ground, sharp enough to cut. He waited, heart racing, until the Zorak stepped close. Then he lunged, jamming the shard into the weak point between its armor plates. The alien bellowed, collapsing. Ethan pulled Lyra up and staggered forward, gasping for breath. Lyra's voice was soft but steady. "You fight like them, but bleed like me." "Save the poetry," Ethan muttered, though a chill ran down his spine at her words. They reached an abandoned tunnel, half buried in rubble. Ethan ducked inside, setting Lyra down carefully. The silence here was heavy, broken only by the crackle of distant fire. For the first time since the chaos began, Ethan could hear his own heartbeat. Lyra's wound glowed faintly where the blood soaked through his makeshift bandage. Her hand touched his chest, fingers trembling. "Your heartbeat. It binds with mine now. Do you feel it?" Ethan frowned. He was about to pull away, but then he realized his pulse did feel strange. It beat faster, heavier, almost in rhythm with hers. A shiver ran through him. "What the hell did you do to me?" Her lips curved faintly. "I marked you. You are mine now, and I am yours. Even death cannot break it." Ethan's mouth went dry. He wanted to argue, to laugh it off, but deep inside he felt the truth in her words. Something had shifted when he touched her blood. Something he couldn't explain. Before he could answer, a loud screech echoed through the tunnel. Ethan's head snapped up. Shadows moved at the far end, more Zorak hunters. Lyra struggled to rise, her body trembling. "We cannot run anymore." Ethan grabbed his weapon, standing between her and the approaching threat. "Then we fight." She shook her head, golden eyes glowing brighter than before. "Not fight. Survive. Together." Her voice was almost like a vow. The tunnel filled with footsteps, the hunters drawing closer. Ethan gritted his teeth, adrenaline surging. Lyra reached out, her fingers brushing his arm, and whispered words in her alien tongue. Suddenly warmth surged through him, his limbs stronger, his vision sharper. It was as if her life force was flowing into his veins. Ethan raised his weapon, heart pounding in sync with hers. Whatever bound them, it was real. He no longer felt like a lone soldier. He felt like something new, something dangerous. The first hunter stepped into the light, weapon raised. Ethan and Lyra shared one look, an unspoken pact. Then the war in the tunnel began. The first Zorak hunter lunged forward, its jagged blade raised. Ethan spun, his reflexes sharper than ever. The weapon cut the air where his head had been a second before. He drove the butt of his rifle into the alien's mask, shattering the visor with a sickening crack. Sparks sprayed and the hunter collapsed. Another came, snarling, its weapon glowing. Ethan fired point blank, the blast tearing through its chest. He didn't hesitate. He didn't think. His body moved as though someone else controlled it, and he realized this was Lyra's strength flowing through him. The remaining hunters faltered, their guttural voices hissing to one another. They had expected an easy kill, but what they faced now wasn't a normal human soldier. It was something bound, something unpredictable. Ethan lowered his weapon, his chest heaving. He felt the energy coursing through his veins, burning, powerful, but wrong. It wasn't his own. He looked at Lyra. "What did you do to me?" Lyra swayed where she sat, her wound still bleeding. "I gave you up my breath, my essence." Her voice cracked, weak but steady. "When I licked your wound, I was sealing us, binding us. My pain is your pain. My strength is your strength. You cannot turn away now." Ethan shook his head, his heart pounding. "You didn't ask me." Her lips curved faintly. "Would you have said yes?" The silence that followed was heavier than the smoke in the tunnel. Before Ethan could reply, a deep rumble shook the earth. Dust rained down from the ceiling as something massive moved above ground. Lyra's eyes widened. Not hunters. Something worse. They brought a reaver. Ethan frowned. "What the hell is a reaver?" Her voice trembled. "A beast. A machine. A monster they use to erase cities. It won't stop until everything is ash." Ethan cursed under his breath. His training told him to retreat, regroup, survive. But every instinct in him screamed that running was pointless. If this reaver destroyed the ruins, there would be no safe place left. Lyra reached for his hand. "Ethan, you cannot fight it." "Not alone." "Then it's good I'm not alone," he muttered. For a moment, her golden eyes softened. She leaned close, pressing her forehead against his. "Then I will give you more." Before Ethan could pull back, she kissed him. Not gently, not soft, but desperate, fierce. Her tongue traced the cut on his lip, her breath warm against his mouth. He felt the surge at once, like fire flooding his veins. His vision sharpened, his muscles tensed, and his heart thundered in rhythm with hers. He pushed her back, gasping. "What the hell was that?" Lyra's lips trembled, her cheeks pale. "A deeper bond. Now if you die, I die. If I die, you follow." Ethan froze. A chill ran through him, colder than the war raging outside. He hadn't asked for this. He hadn't wanted it. Yet his body thrummed with her energy, and his mind whispered something he didn't want to admit. Part of him liked it. The tunnel shook again, this time with a roar so loud it rattled his teeth. The reaver was close. Ethan stood, gripping his rifle. "Fine. If I'm stuck with you, then you better not hold me back." Lyra managed a faint smile, her tail twitching.
"And if I save you?"
"Then I'll owe you one," Ethan said grimly. They moved through the tunnel together, Ethan half supporting her, half dragged by the strange pull of her bond. When they emerged into the ruins, Ethan's breath caught. The reaver towered above the shattered city, a monstrous fusion of flesh and steel. Its legs were like spires of black iron, each step shaking the ground. Its body was covered in jagged plates glowing red with heat. A maw of grinding blades replaced its face, spewing sparks as it roared. Ethan tightened his grip on his rifle. "That's not a machine. That's a nightmare." Lyra's voice was steady now, though her body trembled. "It cannot be killed by weapons. Only by bond." Ethan snapped his head toward her. "What does that mean?" She met his gaze, golden eyes fierce. "You and I together. The reaver feeds on fear and fire, but it cannot withstand what it does not understand. Our bond, our mixing of blood, breath, and soul, that is something they fear." Ethan clenched his jaw. "Sounds like magic." Lyra's lips curved faintly. "To you, to me, it is survival." The reaver roared again, its blades whirring. Soldiers scattered like insects, their weapons useless against the beast. Ethan's heart hammered as he realized every choice he made now was bound not just to him, but to her. If he turned and ran, he doomed them both. If he fought, he might die. But maybe, just maybe, he'd find out what this bond could really do. Lyra reached up, her fingers brushing his cheek. Do not be afraid. You are not only human anymore. For a moment, Ethan wanted to laugh, to scream, to deny it all. But as the Reaver's shadow loomed over them, something inside him whispered that she was right. He raised his weapon, standing taller than before. His voice was low, steady. Then let's show them what happens when they push a human too far. The Reaver screeched, charging. Ethan and Lyra faced it together, hearts beating as one, stepping into a battle that neither of them could survive alone. And deep inside, Ethan knew the war had changed. It wasn't just humanity versus the Zorak anymore. It was something new. Something born of blood, fire, and the dangerous bond between a soldier and an alien girl who refused to let go. The Reaver roared, shaking the ruins with its monstrous voice. Its massive legs crushed stone like sand, sparks spitting from the grinding blades that made up its face. Every soldier that dared to fire at it was torn apart in seconds, their weapons useless against the iron hide. Ethan stood frozen, staring at the beast. His instincts screamed run. His training screamed retreat. But the bond inside his chest beat louder than both. Lyra's golden eyes burned into him, steady even as her body trembled with blood loss. You can't fight that thing, Ethan muttered, his rifle clutched in sweaty hands. Lyra's voice was calm, too calm for the chaos. You already are. Ethan turned to her sharply. I don't have whatever magic you think I do. Her lips curved in a faint, almost broken smile. It is not magic. It is us, trust me. Feel it. The Reaver stomped closer, its shadow swallowing them in darkness. Ethan's chest pounded, then suddenly he felt it. Her heartbeat. It was inside him, thundering in rhythm with his own. His breath matched hers, his pulse matched hers. He blinked, and for a moment he saw through her eyes. The world shifted. The Reaver's armored body no longer looked solid. He could see the cracks of heat glowing between its plates, the weak spots that normal eyes would miss. He gasped, stumbling back. What the hell? Lyra gripped his hand tightly, her claws digging into his skin. Do you see it now? That is the bond. What I see, you see. What I feel, you feel. Use it, Ethan, or we both die. The Reaver let out a scream of metal and flame. It charged. Soldiers scattered in terror, but Ethan held his ground. His rifle felt like an extension of Lyra's will. He raised it, aimed not at the thick plates but at the glowing seam in its leg. He fired. The blast struck true. The Reaver stumbled, its leg buckling for a heartbeat. The ground shook violently as the monster steadied itself with another roar. Ethan's mouth went dry. It worked. Lyra's voice was sharp, urgent. Again. Ethan fired again, hitting another seam. The Reaver faltered, its movement slower now. The soldiers watching from the ruins stared in disbelief. One human was succeeding where entire units had failed. But with every shot, Ethan felt his body weaken. His hands trembled, his vision blurred. The bond wasn't just giving him power, it was draining him too. He staggered, sweat dripping down his face. I can't hold this. Lyra's eyes narrowed. Then I will carry it. Before Ethan could protest, Lyra pressed her bleeding hand against his chest. A surge of fire coursed through him, stronger than before. His back arched, his eyes burning with golden light. The bond deepened, terrifying and intoxicating all at once. Ethan gasped, choking on air. His voice was rough. You're killing yourself. Lyra's lips brushed his ear. Then let me die with purpose. The Reaver lunged, blades spinning. Ethan roared back, leaping aside with inhuman speed. He fired at the monster's core, each blast tearing deeper into its frame. His movements were too sharp, too fast, not human anymore. He could feel her inside him, guiding him, pushing him past the limits of flesh. The soldiers watched in stunned silence as Ethan climbed onto the Reaver's leg, dodging sparks and blades. He jammed his rifle into the glowing seam near its chest and fired until the weapon overheated. The Reaver screamed, thrashing wildly. Ethan held on with strength that wasn't his veins burning with golden fire. Now, Ethan. Lyra's voice rang inside his head. Not just spoken, inside. He pulled the knife from his belt, plunging it into the seam. Energy surged up the blade, a flash so bright it seared the sky. The Reaver convulsed, its massive body collapsing to the ground with a thunderous crash. Silence followed. Dust rolled across the ruins. The monster lay still. Ethan dropped to his knees, gasping for air. His hands shook violently, his body drenched in sweat. He looked down at himself. His veins glowed faintly with golden light. He staggered toward Lyra, who sat slumped against the rubble, her breathing shallow. Her lips were pale, her tail limp. Ethan dropped beside her, grabbing her shoulders. "Stay with me. Don't you dare quit on me now." Her golden eyes fluttered open, dim but steady. "You fought like one of us." Ethan shook his head. "No, I fought because of you." Lyra's lips trembled, forming a faint smile. "Then, maybe we can win this war." Before Ethan could reply, a metallic voice echoed across the battlefield. He turned and froze. Zorak commanders stood in the distance, their black armor gleaming under the red sky. Behind them, lines of soldiers marched forward. The Reaver's death had drawn them, and now they came in full force. One commander raised its blade, pointing directly at Ethan and Lyra. Its voice was a growl, translated through a harsh device, and seized the bonded ones. "They are the key." Ethan's stomach dropped. They weren't just enemies now. They were targets. The entire Zorak army knew about the bond. Lyra clutched his hand weakly. "Run, Ethan, save yourself." He looked at her, then at the endless tide of enemies closing in. His grip tightened. "Not a chance. If they want us, they'll have to bleed for it." The battlefield rumbled as the soldiers advanced. Ethan raised his weapon once more, golden fire flickering in his eyes. Lyra leaned against him, whispering one final warning. "They won't stop until they have us. And if they take me, they take you too." The war was no longer about sides. It was about survival. About the unbreakable bond that had turned two strangers into something the Zorak feared. And Ethan knew this was only the beginning. The battlefield still smoked from the Reaver's fall. Ethan stood over Lyra, his chest heaving, rifle hot in his grip. His veins still glowed faintly gold, humming with her energy. Every breath he took carried her strength and her pain. But there was no time to rest. The Zorak army marched closer, a tide of steel and fire. Ethan braced himself for another fight when a sharp voice rang out behind him. "Hold your fire. That's one of ours." Ethan turned sharply. Through the haze, human soldiers advanced, his own unit, battered but alive. Their armor was scorched, faces grim, but they carried weapons ready. At the front was Captain Rourke, a man Ethan had followed through countless missions. His commander, his mentor. For a moment, relief washed over Ethan. Reinforcements. Safety. But then he saw the way Rourke's eyes narrowed at Lyra. The way every rifle instantly aimed not at the Zorak but at her. "What the hell is that?" Rourke barked, pointing his gun at the alien girl slumped against the rubble. Ethan stepped in front of her, raising his rifle instinctively. "She's not the enemy." Rourke's expression hardened. "Not the enemy? Look at her. She's one of them. And you're glowing like a damn beacon. What did she do to you, Cole?" Ethan's throat tightened. He wanted to explain, to say the bond had saved him, saved them both, that without her the Reaver would still be tearing the city apart. But the words caught in his chest. How could he explain something he barely understood himself? Lyra's weak voice broke the silence. "They fear what they do not know." The soldiers flinched at the sound of her speaking. Fingers twitched against triggers. One muttered, "It talks like us." Rourke didn't hesitate. "Step aside, Cole. We'll end this before it spreads." Ethan's pulse spiked. His rifle tightened in his grip. "No, you don't touch her." Rourke's eyes narrowed. "You've lost your mind. You've bonded with it, haven't you? That's why you're still standing. That's why your veins glow. God help us, you've let it infect you." "Infect me?" Ethan snapped. "She saved my life. She saved all of us." He pointed to the Reaver's smoldering corpse. "You think I killed that thing alone? Without her, we'd all be dead." But his words fell into silence. The men only saw an alien and a soldier standing between them. Rourke raised his pistol. His voice was steady, cold. "You're compromised, Ethan, and compromised men don't walk away from battle." The world slowed. Ethan's heart thundered. He could feel Lyra's fear pressing into his chest, the bond screaming in his blood. If Rourke fired, she would die. If she died, so would he. Ethan raised his rifle, pointing it at the man who had once been his brother in arms. "Don't do this, Captain, please." For the first time, Rourke's face cracked, not with pity but with rage. "You've chosen it over us. Over your own people. You're no soldier anymore. You're a traitor." The words cut deeper than any blade. Ethan's finger twitched on the trigger. His mind spun. Was he really betraying humanity? Or was humanity betraying itself, blind to the truth? Lyra's hand touched his arm weakly. Her golden eyes shimmered with sorrow. Do not fight them, Ethan, not yet. But Rourke didn't wait. His pistol rose higher, his finger curling. Ethan had a split second to choose. Shoot his commander, or watch Lyra die and feel himself die with her. A plasma bolt cracked the silence. Ethan flinched, but it wasn't his shot. From the smoke, Zorak soldiers stormed forward, their weapons blazing. The battlefield exploded into chaos once again. Rourke's men scrambled for cover, firing at the new threat. Ethan dropped low, pulling Lyra against his chest. Rourke dove behind rubble, his glare still fixed on Ethan even as the Zorak advanced. This isn't over, Cole. When we survive this, you're finished. Ethan bit back a curse. His heart burned with fury, but survival came first. He dragged Lyra into the shadows of a broken wall, shielding her from the storm of gunfire. Her breath was shallow, her skin pale. Ethan, they will never accept us. Not your people, not mine. Only the bond is true. Her words echoed in his head louder than the battle. Only the bond is true. Ethan clenched his teeth, rage and sorrow twisting inside him. He had fought for humanity his entire life, obeyed orders without question. And now, in the middle of this war, the people he trusted most had turned their weapons on him. The bond pulsed in his veins, hotter now, wilder. His vision blurred with golden light. He felt Lyra's heartbeat racing, her fear mixing with his fury. Together they rose. The nearest Zorak soldier swung its blade, but Ethan caught its wrist with inhuman speed, snapping the armor like glass. He drove his knife into its throat, golden sparks flashing. Another came at him, but Lyra's hand flicked upward, energy bursting from her palm. The alien flew backward into the rubble. The two of them moved as one, killing machine and living flame, their bond unstoppable. Human soldiers and Zorak alike stared in shock. Friend or foe, it didn't matter. Ethan was no longer just a man, and Lyra no longer just a wounded alien. They were something new. When the smoke cleared, bodies lay scattered, the ruins glowing with embers. Rourke's unit had survived, but they stayed far back, their weapons still aimed at Ethan and Lyra. The captain's voice cut through the silence. Look at you. You're not even human anymore, Ethan's chest heaved. He wanted to shout to defend himself, but deep inside he knew Rourke was half right. He wasn't just human. He was something else. Something dangerous. Lyra's golden eyes locked with his. Her voice was soft, almost tender. They fear you now, Ethan, just as they fear me. That means only one path remains. Ethan stared at her, his breath heavy. Around them, both human and Zorak forces regrouped, ready for another strike. But for the first time, Ethan realized he was caught in a war larger than sides, and the only choice left was whether to embrace the bond completely or lose everything. The night sky burned with fire. Smoke curled from the ruins, the air thick with ash and blood. Ethan stood in the middle of it all, his chest rising and falling with heavy breaths. Lyra leaned against him, her golden eyes glowing faint but steady. Around them, both Zorak and human soldiers hesitated, weapons raised, but no one daring to move first. Ethan could feel it, the bond thrumming in his veins, stronger than ever. Lyra's heartbeat pulsed through him, steady and fierce, keeping him alive when his body should have collapsed long ago. He wasn't just himself anymore. He was something more. Captain Rourke's voice shattered the silence. Cole, last warning. Step away from it, or I put you down where you stand. His pistol gleamed in the light of the flames. His soldiers watched him, tense, uncertain. Ethan tightened his grip on his rifle. His voice was hoarse but steady. You don't understand. We killed the Reaver together. Without her, none of us would be standing here. She infected you. Rourke spat. You're not a soldier anymore. You're their weapon now. Before Ethan could respond, the ground trembled. A low guttural roar rolled across the battlefield. From the shadows of the ruined city, a second Reaver emerged. Larger, more armored, its jagged plates burning with molten light. The Zorak forces cheered in guttural tones, their commanders pointing toward Ethan and Lyra. They know, Lyra whispered. Her voice trembled with dread. They built this one for us. Ethan's jaw clenched. The first Reaver had nearly killed him even with her strength. This one was different, stronger, smarter. It moved like a predator that had already tasted blood. The human soldiers opened fire, their plasma bolts bouncing harmlessly off its armored hide. The Reaver roared, swinging one massive claw. Buildings collapsed in showers of sparks and stone. Screams filled the night as men scattered. Rourke shouted orders, but his voice was drowned by the chaos. Ethan watched as the beast cut down both Zorak and human soldiers alike. It didn't care about sides. It wanted them, the bonded ones. Lyra's claws dug into his arm. Her golden eyes locked with his, fierce even in her weakness. Ethan, the bond is not enough anymore. If we are to survive, we must complete it. His breath caught. Complete it? What does that mean? Her lips trembled. It means no more division. No more human or alien. Only one. Ethan's stomach twisted. The bond had already stolen pieces of him. His blood glowed, his thoughts echoed with hers. If they merged completely, would there even be an Ethan Cole left? Or just something new, something unknown? The Reaver roared again, charging straight for them. The ground quaked beneath its steps. Dust rained from the broken buildings. There was no time to argue. Ethan gritted his teeth. Then do it. Lyra's golden eyes widened. Are you sure? His voice broke, but it was steady. Better to die as one, than alone. She pressed her forehead against his, her breath hot against his lips. The bond surged, a tidal wave of fire and light flooding through him. His scream echoed with hers, their voices blending into one. The world exploded. His vision burned gold. His body felt weightless yet strong. His skin glowed faintly, veins alive with energy. His mind was no longer just his. Lyra's thoughts, her fears, her strength flowed inside him like a river. He stood taller, his wounds closing, his muscles thrumming with power beyond human flesh. Lyra clung to him, her form shimmering, almost translucent. They were no longer two, they were halves of one whole. The Reaver lunged, its blades spinning. Ethan roared, leaping to meet it. His movements were lightning, guided by Lyra's instincts. He slid beneath its claws, golden sparks bursting from his hands as he struck the glowing seam in its armor. The beast howled, staggering back. Human soldiers and Zorak alike froze, staring in shock as the bonded warrior fought the impossible. Ethan tore through the battlefield, every strike fueled by their unity. Lyra's voice rang in his mind, steady and fierce, left, dodge, strike the joint. Their thoughts flowed as one, their breaths as one, their hearts as one. The Reaver swung its massive arm, but Ethan caught it, golden fire erupting from his hands. The beast screeched, its armor cracking under the impossible force. Ethan climbed its frame, each step burning with Lyra's energy. At the top, he plunged his blade deep into the glowing core. Light exploded across the battlefield. The Reaver convulsed, its scream shattering the night. Then it collapsed, its body splitting apart in a storm of fire and ash. Silence fell. Ethan dropped to his knees, gasping. His body shook violently, smoke rising from his skin. Lyra's form shimmered beside him, her golden eyes dim but filled with pride. You did it, she whispered. We did it, the battlefield was still. Human soldiers stared at him in awe, their rifles lowered. Even the Zorak hesitated, their commanders silent. None dared to approach. Rourke stepped forward, his face pale. His pistol wavered in his hand. Cole, what are you? Ethan looked at him, his golden-lit eyes steady. His voice was low, almost broken. I'm still human. But I'm not just human anymore. I'm something they can't control. Something you can't command. Rourke's jaw tightened. He wanted to speak, to order, but the words wouldn't come. Ethan turned to Lyra, her form faint against the smoke. She leaned against him, her voice trembling. The war will never end, Ethan, not for them. But for us. Maybe it can begin again. He nodded, his chest heavy. He didn't know what future awaited them. Maybe both sides would hunt them. Maybe neither would forgive them. But as he held her close, their bond burning bright, one truth was clear. They were no longer alone. And for the first time since the war began, Ethan felt something dangerous, something powerful. Hope.